Every night, millions of Americans watch Bret Baier give the big news on Fox News, but almost nobody knows the super tough stuff he's been carrying around for almost 20 years. His newborn son came into the world with a tiny heart the size of a walnut that was sending blood the wrong way. 5 open-heart surgeries before the kid was even a teenager, a scary car crash in Montana where the whole family was trapped upside down in a freezing ditch, losing his dad out of nowhere. And maybe the worst part, private text messages that got leaked and messed up his reputation as one of the fairest guys on TV. This is the story of a guy who spends his job telling America the hard truth, but then had to face truths in his own life that no school could ever teach him. The year 2007 was supposed to be pure winning for Bret Baier. Fox News had just made him their White House reporter, a huge fancy job covering President Bush. His career was shooting straight to the top, but right when work was perfect, his home life fell apart in a hospital room. His wife Amy gave birth to their first son that year, a little boy they named Paul. The birth went totally normal, no problems, no red flags, just a healthy baby, or so they thought. But soon after he was born, a nurse saw something wrong. The baby looked super pale, his color was off. What happened next was every parent's worst nightmare coming true right in front of them. Tests showed Paul was born with 5 serious heart defects. His tiny walnut-sized heart was pumping blood backwards in his body. The problems were so bad that doctors said the newborn needed open heart surgery in just days. There was a real chance Paul wouldn't make it home alive. Bret and Amy are Catholic and have strong faith, but nothing gets you ready to watch your brand new baby get rolled into surgery. The couple prayed like crazy during those terrifying first day. Bret later said he believed a loving God had a bigger plan for Paul and their family. But in those first scary hours, faith and total fear lived together. Paul had his first open heart surgery as a newborn. It worked, but it was only the start of a long road that would shape the Baier family for years. In the years after, Paul went through 4 more open heart surgeries. Between the big ones, he had 10 angioplasties, procedures to keep his weak heart and blood vessels working. Every surgery could have killed him. Every recovery was hard. The Baiers came up with ways to keep going through all the hospital stays. They made a family saying they repeated on the worst days. We're one day closer to getting Paul home. It kept them steady and helped them see progress. When everything felt endless and home seemed forever away, that saying helped them spot a tiny light at the end. In 2014, 7 years into Paul's heart fight, Bret decided to tell the world their story. He wrote a book called Special Heart, A Journey of Faith, Hope, Courage, and Love. The book told every scary detail of Paul's medical fight and showed exactly what families with congenital heart disease go through. Bret wrote honestly about how hard it was on his marriage to Amy, the fears that kept him up at night, and the faith that pulled them through the darkest times. The book did 2 things. It helped other families feel less alone, and every dollar it made went to heart disease research. The Baiers had learned that almost 1 of babies in America are born with heart defects, but most people don't know much about it. Bret used his TV job to spread the word. During this time, Bret got huge emotional help from someone surprising. Brit Hume, the famous Fox anchor Bret had replaced on Special Report. Brit had lost his grown son to suicide, so he really understood deep pain in a way most coworkers couldn't. He talked Bret through the early days of Paul's crisis and gave priceless advice. "It's going to get better," Brit told him. "You have to trust God and the doctors and put it in God's hands." As Paul got bigger, the Baiers tried super hard to keep life normal. When their second son, Daniel, was born in 2010, they made sure both boys felt equally loved. They worried Daniel might feel ignored because Paul needed so much attention, but the brothers became super close. Paul, even with everything, was determined to live like a regular kid. But the family's scary moments weren't over. One of the worst was still coming. The Baier family trip to Montana in 2019 was supposed to be perfect. Skiing, fresh air, a break from doctor visits and heart monitors. Paul's health had been pretty stable, so they finally felt they could relax. Or so they thought. The skiing part was awesome. The boys loved the slopes. Bret and Amy finally got to breathe. As vacation ended, they all hopped in the car to drive to the airport, happy and already planning the next trip. Nobody saw what was about to happen on that icy Montana road. The car hit black ice. Bret lost control. In seconds, they slammed into a truck. The SUV flipped and landed completely upside down in a ditch by the road. For a second, everything was quiet except creaking metal. Then they realized everyone was still alive. A driver who saw it happen stopped right away to help. That stranger worked with Bret and Amy to pull all 4 family members out of the wreck. Paramedics came fast and took everyone to the hospital. For a family that already knew hospitals way too well, it felt crazy. They came to Montana to get away from medical stuff and ended up in the ER anyway. When doctors checked them out, the news was actually a miracle. Bret had a concussion, one person needed 14 stitches on their chin, someone had a loose tooth that needed a dentist, another had a sprained ankle. That was it, no one was dying. Bret later said they were banged up but alive. He thanked the paramedics and the stranger who stopped in a public statement. But the message he posted himself on social media showed how much it shook him. He wrote, "Don't take anything for granted. Every day is a blessing and family is everything. It's always good to remind yourself before something reminds you the hard way." The crash was another big reminder how fast life can flip, something the Baiers already knew better than most, but they barely got to catch their breath. Just months later in 2020, Bret got a phone call with a whole different kind of pain. His dad had cancer. It moved super fast. Within months, Bret got the call that the end was close. He rushed to be with his dad, and the whole family gathered to say goodbye. Bret was thankful his dad didn't suffer long and that everyone got to be there. Losing his dad hit Bret harder than he expected. Just 3 years earlier, he had talked in an interview about how his dad shaped his work ethic, from running a teenage landscaping business to how he does his anchor job. His dad's example was in everything. Hard work, honesty, and never giving up. He learned it all watching his dad live it every day. When Bret shared that his dad passed away, tons of people sent love. Coworkers, viewers, other journalists. But nothing could fill the empty space left by the man who made him who he is. While Bret was grieving his dad and still handling Paul's health stuff, he had no clue his work world was about to blow up in a huge scandal. After the 2020 election, everything was chaos in news and politics. Donald Trump wouldn't accept he lost to Joe Biden and kept saying the election was stolen. Lots of Republicans repeated that story. Some said voting machines were rigged and votes were changed. One company got blamed the most, Dominion Voting Systems, which makes electronic voting machines used all over the country. In the weeks after the election, wild stories about Dominion spread fast. Conservative TV and radio people claimed the machines were built to switch Trump votes to Biden. There was zero proof, but the story flew around right-wing media, and Fox News, Bret's network, pushed it super loud. Night after night, Fox hosts and guests said Dominion helped steal the election. The viewers, who mostly loved Trump, ate it up. But Dominion fought back hard. They sued Fox News for $1.6 billion, saying the network ruined their reputation with lies they knew weren't true. The lawsuit meant lawyers got to see tons of private Fox messages and emails. Bret got questioned too because he was part of it. The stuff that came out and showed a pretty ugly picture of how Fox was running things after the election. For Bret, the real heartbreak of the Dominion mess wasn't just the lawsuit. As Fox moved farther right to keep Trump fans happy, Bret felt more and more alone at work. He had built his whole career on calm, fact-based reporting that both sides respected. But now, he watched his own network throw that away to keep viewers from switching channels. Bret tried to do something about it. He suggested a special show that would carefully look at the fraud claims and explain which ones weren't true. It would show Fox cared about voter worries, but still put facts first. It would prove the network could tell the truth and keep its audience. Bret sent the idea to the bosses and waited. He's still waiting. They never even answered him, and the show never happened. While the lawsuit went on, Fox tried to keep all the private messages secret, but some leaked anyway. The Daily Beast got texts between Bret and Tucker Carlson, one of Fox's biggest stars. Those texts changed how a lot of people saw Bret Baier forever. The messages were about how Fox was calling states on election night. Trump fans were super mad that Fox called states for Biden, and the network was getting Ahmed, The text showed Bret admitting the main viewers were upset and needed to feel better. Even worse, Bret wrote that he was personally pushing the bosses to slow down calling states for Biden. He said he told them to take it slow and predicted they would drag their feet on calling Nevada. And that's exactly what happened. Fox was the very last big network to say Biden won. Before the texts leaked, most people thought Bret stayed neutral during the whole election mess. His fair reputation protected him. But the messages crushed that image. They made it look like Bret let politics affect news decisions just to calm an angry audience. For a journalist, there's hardly anything worse than people thinking you picked sides over facts. The leaked texts made it look exactly like that. In the end, Fox settled with Dominion for $787.5 million, one of the biggest media payouts ever. Fox put out a statement saying some claims about Dominion were false, but money couldn't fix the damage to the network's trust or to Bret's name. People will always wonder what he was willing to bend for politics. But even while his work life was falling apart, his real life still needed every bit of strength he had. Even with all the Dominion drama and leaked texts, the Baiers never forgot what really mattered. Paul's heart fight kept going, and helping other families became their mission. They had become big names in the kids' heart world. They got super involved with Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C., where Paul got most of his care. Bret used his TV fame to raise money and awareness. Together they brought in over $1 million for the hospital through events and fundraisers. Amy joined the Hospital Foundation's board and helped decide what to focus on. In 2023, the couple gave their biggest gift yet, $1 million to start the Baier Family Congenital Heart Disease Research Program at Children's National. It works on new and better treatments for the problem that hits almost 1% of American babies. For the Baiers, it turned their pain into something helpful so future families might have it easier. Meanwhile, Paul kept beating the odds. Even with constant doctor stuff, he wouldn't let it stop him. He made the high school varsity golf team and spent hours practicing. He also played varsity tennis, pushing his body in ways no one thought possible with his heart history. The Baiers worked hard to make sure both Paul and little brother Daniel felt equally loved and never let Paul's health take all the attention. Then May 2024 came and a checkup scared everyone again. A normal chest x-ray, one Paul had done 1,000,000 times, showed something terrifying. Doctors found a dangerous aneurysm right by his heart. The 16-year-old had 0 symptoms. If they hadn't caught it, it could have burst any second and almost definitely killed him. Bret called it God stepping in, and it's hard to argue. Finding a silent aneurysm on a routine scan felt like a miracle. Paul had his 5th open heart surgery to fix the aneurysm. It was as big and risky as the others, but it worked. Just 5 days later, he got to go home to recover. Through everything, the whole journey, the Baiers stayed open about everything. They knew telling their story helped other families feel less alone. Bret used his Fox News show to bring on heart experts, teach viewers the warning signs, and push early checkups. He let other heart families come on TV and tell their stories too. The main thing the Baiers always tell scared families is don't lose hope and keep perspective. No matter how dark it feels right now, things can get better. Trust the doctors, hold on to faith if you have it, hug your family tight, take it one day at a time because tomorrow isn't promised, but it's not written in stone either. Today, Bret Baier still anchors Special Report every night for millions of Fox viewers, but he's a totally different person from the hungry young reporter who started at the network in 1998. Years of medical scares, losing his dad, and work drama changed what he thinks is important. Paul is almost grown up now and will need heart care his whole life. Doctors can't say exactly what's coming, probably more procedures, maybe more surgeries. The 2024 aneurysm showed danger can still pop up out of nowhere, but Paul made it to 16. He's doing great, playing sports, hanging with friends, living a real teenage life. For the Baiers, that's way more than they dared dream in those first terrifying hospital days. Bret now talks a lot about being thankful every single day for everything you have. The work embarrassment hurt, but it's nothing compared to almost losing his son over and over. The leaked texts hurt his reputation, but his son is still breathing. The Dominion mess made Fox look bad, but his family walked away from a flipped car that could have killed them all. Perspective changes everything about wins and losses, Bret learned. That Montana crash where they hung upside down in a ditch was another brutal reminder how fast life can change. One minute you're driving to the airport thinking about normal stuff. Next minute you're upside down wondering if your kids are alive. You can't control ice on the road. You can't control a baby born with a broken heart. You can't control leaked texts or cancer. But you can control how you react. You can pick gratitude instead of anger. You can choose purpose instead of giving up. For a guy who spent years reporting other people's tragedies and victories, breaking down elections and politicians, Bret Baier found out his real biggest story isn't the one he reads on TV. It's the one he lives every night when the cameras turn off and he goes home to a family that beat odds most people can't imagine. It's in the sound of Paul's heartbeat, still strong after 5 open heart surgeries. It's in the super close bond between two brothers who learned sickness doesn't ruin childhood. It's in every thankful breath the family takes, knowing how many times they almost lost it all. The work scandals will fade. The Dominion thing will just be a line in cable news history. The leaked texts will be forgotten when the next drama hits. But Paul's heart will keep beating. And the Baier family will keep waking up every morning choosing gratitude over fear, purpose over feeling stuck, and believing that even the toughest roads can lead somewhere good if you just don't quit hoping.